GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you look a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that
yes? Let's go! So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude,
he? How good is he? Let's get it. GMG. Week 1 is almost in the books. It is Monday, September 9th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray and my dog Jay. Week 1, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Jay. Let's go. Yes. Yes, we spent all off season talking through every damn mock draft scenario, every hypothetical situation, every rookie that's going to smash from week 1. And we get to game day, Jay, inactives. Ain't none of them playing, dog. None of them. Burton, Jalen Wright, none of them, dog. All the magic beans we planted all off season. Didn't a damn thing matter. They ain't play. The quarterbacks were awful. Jamison Williams is the new wide receiver 1 in Detroit. It is chaos, Jay. Chaos. And people say, oh, don't overreact after week 1. Stay calm. Be patient. Jay, fuck all that, baby. We finna overreact. It ain't no staying calm. It ain't no being patient. What's popping? I'm glad everybody is in the building. Drew in the building. Marlon, Tater, Wolf, Leo Scott, Mark H., Marlon, Jeff, Rico, Stone, Hunter, Joe Green. We got the crew in the building. I saw my girl Joe in here. Jay, we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. I'm excited, dog. I'm excited. How you feeling, big man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm very excited.
You know, Super Bowl. The Dallas Hey, let me get the helmet. You know, I've got supreme confidence in my boys, JRich. Supreme confidence. I like that jersey you got on, baby.
Yeah, I had to rock the Micah. You know, the only man in Dallas apparently who ain't getting paid, but we will get to that shortly. But it was an awesome week of football. Some disappointments, some highs, some lows. I mean, Ray, I was watching the intro back and I was like, damn, we got a lot of heaters in the intro. You know what I'm saying? Antoine going crazy. But we will get into that. I'm so excited, man. Week 1, it had its ups and downs, but it was so much fun because I felt like we got a lot of things right. We got some things wrong, but most importantly, we get to overreact to all of it today.
Hold on, Marlon said he's done. Marlon said he's unsubscribing from the channel. Hold on, Marlon said he's done with the channel, Jay. And for those of y'all that think Jay got on a Micah Parsons jersey, it's really old Drew Bledsoe jersey. It's an old vintage Drew Bledsoe. But Jay, we got a lot to talk about, man. And the first thing that we're going to do every single Monday is we are going to thank the fantasy gods if your players on your fantasy rosters escaped injury. We just have to give thanks to whomever it is up there that kept our players safe throughout the weekend, because it was not all fine and well for a lot of cats in the NFL, Jay. Let's go ahead and start off with the news that we don't like. Who's hurt? Who's hurt, Jay?
I mean, so you go into Friday, right? Jordan Love, end of the game, gets hurt. Turned out it was a sprained MCL. Thankfully, it was not a sprained ACL. And they have already reached out, I don't know if you saw this, to Ryan Tannehill. So Ryan Tannehill could be in the building. We saw 2 plays from Malik Willis, and both were equally horrible. So hopefully the Packers can find a solution at quarterback for the weeks that Love misses. But Love is probably going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see what the extent of the injury is, but he's not going to be gone for too long. I thought he looked pretty good in the game. We'll get into that in a little bit. You have the Rams' entire O-line in here. I don't know if they're actually hurt or they just played awful against the Lions. They did not play well at all.
I mean, they had, I believe, Noteboom was carted off. McClendon, the right tackle, got injured. I believe they lost Steve Avila at some point in the game. I am legitimately almost positive that their entire offensive line was wrecked last night. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, and you look on the other side, it took the Detroit Lions' entire O-line to drive them down the field in overtime. It was a stark contrast in offensive lines and shows their importance. But on the Rams side, Ray, we did get a re-aggravation of Puka Nakua's knee injury. At least it was reported as a potential re-aggravation. He'd had a knee injury, did not return to the game. We don't know the exact status of his return to play, but hopefully this week, I think if not next week, we'll see what the extent is. It doesn't sound like it's too serious, but there could be potential for him to miss a game, so monitor that. We will obviously keep you updated throughout the week. We are going to be missing some games, though, from David Njoku. David Njoku suffered a high ankle sprain, so he should be out 2 to 3 weeks. Sucks for the Browns. They already have limited weapons. Their quarterback is horrible, and Njoku was one of the few bright spots on that team, especially for fantasy, where he could have kind of fell into that 6 to 8 range at tight end, still be usable without being too bad up and down in terms of weeks. Keenan Allen also was a little bit hobbled in the game. We're not sure the extent of his injury either, so monitor that one. I don't think he's going to miss time necessarily, but it definitely was not a good sign for Keenan Allen in game 1 to be hobbled. And then the other one that from Dallas's game was Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson suffered what looked like a very ugly injury. It turned out to not be an ACL, or at least it's not expected to be an ACL. As it stands right now, he's going to get an MRI today, and we'll see the extent of his injury, but he's probably going to miss multiple weeks. Josh Allen has a small issue for him in his hand, so we'll see if it limits him at all, but chances are he's going to be okay. And then Jordan Addison suffered a high ankle sprain as well, so he's probably going to miss 2 to 3 weeks on top of the ankle sprain he already suffered. I believe this was on the other ankle. So Jordan Addison, I mean, really suffering with those ankle injuries. They're going to need him back sooner rather than later, but he may be missing some time with an ankle sprain as well.
Man, starting with Jordan Love on Friday, just not what we wanted to see, and it happened right at the end
Especially
of the game.
late.
Best case scenario, because it looked bad, especially the up close videos where you can see the knee kind of pop or patella, whatever it was. But at least he escaped a little bit there. Puka Nacua, scale 1 to 10, how concerned are you?
Very. I'd say I'm an 8 at least, 7 or 8. I mean, there's already some concerns coming in. There was already people who said maybe we should be more on Cooper Kupp than Puka Nacua, and we'll obviously get into the game itself. And it certainly looked that way. But yeah, with him being injured week 1, it doesn't look good. And Ray, would you say that you're kind of hoping for a second half resurgence at this point? He can kind of get back to full health in like the first month or so, and then really take off in the second half. I think that's kind of what you're looking at for Puka, unfortunately, right now. Not looking so good for those late first round picks in fantasy football leagues right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You know, for me, the overarching theme of this show, and I hope we all talk about this all the time, Jay. From March, April, May, June, July, August, and the beginning of September. I mean, we are truly living in fantasy land. Fantasy land, right? We do this shit every year, where this enthusiasm and this desire to overextend ourselves for these rookies, seasonal leagues, dynasty, redraft, and then you wake up week 1 and it's Tyquan Thornton and KJ Osborne and Ezekiel Elliott and all the Alec Pierce and Ashton Doolin. It's this happens. We gotta stop it. We gotta stop, Jay. We've got to stop. We got to stop. And it doesn't mean that some of these guys are going to be awful or they're not going to have their days or their games. But my God, and we talked about it on the show, Marv at 111, 112 is foolish. It's silly. He might be great. He may be the greatest of all time. But to do that out the gate, Jay, and it's not just the skill position players. Caleb Williams was awful. He was awful all game. That's my dog. USC through and through. He was terrible. Terrible. He was just as bad as everyone else. He's yelling at the end of the game because he's like, thank God I've got this defense to get us this dub. And thank God I was playing against Will Levis. Jay, the overarching theme is the old guys are going to play. Like the vets are going to get the preference. We do this every single year. But let's start off with Green Bay and Philadelphia, Jay. Big theme of this one, man. Hey, bell cow running backs, Jay. Bell cows. You hear that, Jay? You hear that? Bell cow Barkley. Saquon Barkley, JRich. I mean,
we've been calling for it.
What are we doing? He's one of the most talented running backs we've seen play. on an awesome offense with a dope offensive coordinator, yet there were real people out there saying, I don't know about that Barkley. Fade Saquon Barkley. He's going to have all rush attempts at the 1-yard line stolen from him by Jalen Hurts. 24 carries, 109 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, caught 2 passes, 23 yards, scored another one through the air. Jay, what is your big takeaway from this game right here in this player, Saquon Barkley?
RB1 on the week, Ray. RB1. He was balling. There's nothing else to say about Saquon Barkley. People talk about him getting vulture at the 1. They have to actually be at the 1. This is not DeAndre Swift. If you give Saquon Barkley a hole, he's going to hit the hole and he's going to score the touchdown. And we saw that multiple times, both through the air and on the ground for Saquon. He was phenomenal. The Eagles offensive line, I thought, was better than I expected to be, especially in game 1, right? We thought Jason Kelce would be a big loss, and it was shaky early, but especially in the running game, I thought they did look pretty good. Jalen Hurts is a bit of another conversation, but Barkley, locked and loaded, was great. Only one other carry, Ray, for another running back. That was Kenneth Gainwell. We didn't see any Will Shipley in terms of carries, and then Jalen Hurts only had 13 carries himself. So 24 out of 25 rushing opportunities went Saquon Barkley's way. That's all you can ask for in this Eagles offense.
Yeah, and listen, I know people are going to allude to the fact that Hurts threw the early intercept. I thought he played fine. You know, there was a bone. You can't do that throw. But he's not the only one this weekend that made. He's not the only one this week. He's not the only quarterback that made what the F are you doing throws. I mean, it happened all weekend long. I mean, C.J. Stroud threw damn near 3 or 4 what are you doing almost picks. So I'm not going to crucify Jalen Hurts from that standpoint. From fantasy, he threw for damn near 300 yards, gave you 2 touchdowns, ran the ball 33 times, and more importantly, I like the distribution of targets. It was Devontae Smith. It was A.J. Brown. Smitty, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert got a little bit there. What you're looking at is a consolidated offense. It's Barkley, it's Brown, it's Smitty, it's Hurts.
And a bit
Goddard
of
to have a look. Goddard will score you some
points. He's a
points
tight end, so
there.
it's good enough.
It was good enough, right? On the other side of the ball, you talked about Jordan Love being injured. He's going to be out. And I'm very concerned about the pass catchers for Green Bay absent Jordan Love. Very concerned. Now, in this one, Jaden Reed did his thing. Christian Watson scored touchdowns because that's all he does, apparently. Every reception is either a big play or a touchdown or an injury. Jaden Reed, we talked about this. Listen, there are a lot of fantastic resources out there to help you understand some new metrics and things of that nature. But by far the best thing to help you identify which receiver and the utilization in an offense and which guys you want, it's on ddfantasyfootball.com. It's Trinity. And I told you guys this months ago. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, not no fucking Dontavian Wicks is who you want from the Green Bay Packers. Like, let's be real here. All this bias and hope, dude, like we're dealing in reality. Who are the players who are being utilized in their offenses to score as points? Go check out the tool. It's updated every Tuesday. Jaden Reed, absolute monster, Jay.
Yeah, Jaden Reed, it's funny because we talked about the 4 receptions for Jaden Reed, and he barely got it right at the end of the game, but wide receiver 1 on the week, right? Literally, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams, didn't matter. It was Jaden Reed who's at the top of all those guys in PPR. Ray, I am a little bit concerned about the Packers offense, mainly because I didn't think Jordan Love looked great. Now with the injury, even more question marks. But in my opinion, of all the OCs, I thought LaFleur probably called one of the best games because he had players running wide open. You talked about Dontavian Wicks. Awful. He played horrible, dropping passes left and right. We were talking about his under before the game. Christian Watson obviously didn't get involved a ton down the field, but even that touchdown to Jaden Reed, Christian Watson was also wide open on that play. He was running beside him into the end zone. But I think the biggest takeaway, and it was scary early, but Josh Jacobs is going to be a thing this year, whether you like it or not. He didn't score,
I hope you like it.
Which kind of sucked for fantasy. But 16 carries, it was a slow start, a little inefficient early. We were a little nervous. And then next thing you know, Jacobs got rolling. It took him a little bit, but eventually got going. And he did look very good, especially late. If it was a game where you're looking at a better game script for him, he probably gets 20-plus carries and probably scores. But my biggest takeaway by far, Eagles secondary still sucks. I would target it every single week. It's awful. Yeah.
Well, Quinshon Mitchell played well. I thought he played about as good as he could. There was definitely some lapses in coverage there. And let's shout out, let's not forget about Tucker Kraft, who also was on the field, unlike Luke Musgrave. So blip trend.
Ran ahead of him.
Something to kind of, I don't think they're going to flip-flop that in week 2. It seems like Tucker Kraft is the tight end that you want. And like you said, it's Saquon Barkley, it's Devontae Smith, it's Jalen Hurts, it's A.J. Brown. Those are the weapons you want to target from the Philadelphia Eagles, just like we thought they would. Now, there was so much drama, Jay, surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation. And if I would have told you at the beginning of Sunday morning that the third best quarterback on the field for the Atlanta Falcons and the Pittsburgh Steelers would be Kirk Cousins, the third, not second, not first, the third best quarterback on the field would be Kirk Cousins, would you have believed me, Jay? Would you have believed me if I said that?
There's no way.
You would have said no way.
Maybe second, but not third.
Well, he was the third best because Russell Wilson, who didn't play, who was in uniform, inactive, peak Russell Wilson move, he was better than what Kirk Cousins was out there doing. He looked lost, Jay. Atlanta and Pittsburgh, talk about it, Jay.
It was awful. I mean, there's not really any other way to put it. I do want to give credit to the Steelers defense. We know the Steelers defense is good.
Yes.
So hopefully there is better things coming for Atlanta. But my God, I mean, Kirk Cousins was throwing some awful interceptions. He wasn't very mobile in the pocket. And for a guy who's not that mobile to begin with, that's very concerning. He was skittish. He was throwing off his back foot. He didn't feel confident who he was throwing to. You look at where he was throwing the ball, and this is very consistent across the NFL as a whole. Short and quick and getting the ball out before getting sacked. And you look at the distribution of targets, it was pretty much even. When Raymond McLeod is your number one target, that is not good for the Atlanta Falcons and not good for us in fantasy. Bijan Robinson still got it done with 23 opportunities, but Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown. Thank God. He only went 3 for 26. Darnell Mooney, 115. Drake London, 2 for 15. Both only had 3 targets. I mean, the good thing, Bijan was great, even without a touchdown. Bell cow Bijan, right? 18 to 3 in terms of carries against Tyler Algier. But, Ray, talk about the pass catchers and talk about Kirk Cousins. When's he getting replaced this season?
It's not good, man. Not good. As I'm watching the games, all I could think about, Jay, is preseason probably would have done some of these cats a little bit of good. Just to see some live game reps. He looked bad, Jay. 155 passing yards, 6 yards per attempt, which was lower than Justin Fields. 2 sacks, 2 picks, should have been another 2. Passer rating of 59.
Was rough. He
looked like a guy who was a year removed from Achilles surgery, man. He's immobile, 35 years old. You know, I put something out there on X. I was like, the Falcons, they had to have known something, Jay. When they drafted, you gave Kirk Cousins $100 million. Dog, you're not going to make me believe that somebody somewhere in that organization said, I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Can he come all the way back, right? Because it was a month, right? He would have passed his physical. I mean, whatever that would have looked like coming off
whatever. I don't know
Achilles,
what that would even look like, but yeah.
Right? Because they would have had to have a physical. He would have passed it, or they would have approved it, right? Coming off that Achilles injury. But to your point, there was that month-long period where they're evaluating quarterbacks. They're saying, well, if Penix is available, should we take him? And all reports from coaches and GMs were saying, this is a guy we identified as a potential future starting quarterback in the NFL, and we didn't feel like we could pass him up. And I think there's a very good point you brought to where maybe they felt this was a move they had to make because they knew that Kirk Cousins was not going to be the guy because he wasn't looking the way he needed to look coming off that Achilles injury. Now, he can obviously improve, and again, the Steelers defense is legit. It is very good, and that you saw that multiple times, but you can't have the Falcons offense look like this at home with all the playmakers they have, and I think this is where, we tell OCs a lot as well.
Give Pittsburgh some credit. I'm not taking any credit away from the Steelers. Defense is great. We all know
it's a good defense.
You're at home. I don't want to hear none of that, man. You're out there. You can't complete passes. You're launching it right to Steelers. He looked bad. Sure, it's week 1, but you got 16 games to kind of get it together. 15 every week matters. It's not like we can start off 1-5 and turn the ship around and then we can make it now.
Do you want to hear their schedule?
Let me hear it. I heard it's easy, right?
At Philly. They win in that game?
Let's go. Keep going.
Home versus KC. Then they got to play New Orleans, and especially how that defense looked. Good luck.
We'll talk about
Then they
got to
play Tampa. So their next 4 games, like, yeah, 2 are in division, which means 1, they're very important, and they're both at home. And they still got KC and Philly, and there's almost no way they're beating those teams the way they look right now.
Garrison, I love you. I'm not trying to hear none of that shit. We're not relaxing this week 1. We're talking about it. We're going to talk about it because I do think that what you see matters. Right? We're not saying that it's the alpha and the omega, it's the A and the Z, it's the end all be all. But to look at a situation week 1 where you've prepped all goddamn summer to come out there and put your best foot forward and look like dog shit, I'm not finna be like, no big deal. Week 1, no biggie. No biggie from a team that was bad last year. No biggie from a team that didn't do anything in the preseason. No, it's information.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse.
Like,
you can't not play and then look like dog shit, man. Right? You can't do that.
You keep starting Kirk Cousins the next 3 weeks. You do it. I'll pass. You do it in your non-panic. You keep rolling Kirk out there against Philly, against KC. I'm going to pass on that, Jay. On the other side of the ball, George Pickens looked good. George
very
Pickens
impressed with Pickens. Very impressed.
He will giveth and he will taketh away. But George Pickens is really, really good, Jay. He's a very, very good option, and you can tell they've got nobody else to throw the ball to. They've got nobody else, right? Van Jefferson running a bunch of routes. You got Freiermuth. He got a big deal. He's out there kind of doing his thing. But the only player Pittsburgh has that will put any pressure or fear on defenses, it's George Pickens. And 6 for 85, a lot of downfield targets. I am enthusiastic and optimistic about what George Pickens can do in this offense. And then from a running game, it's bell cow Najee Harris. I mean, it's give him the cow sounder too. It is 20 carries for an inefficient 70 yards. But he got 20 damn carries opposed to Jalen Warren's 2, Cordell Patterson's 4, and that's with Justin Fields running the ball 14 times. So my question to you, Jay, Fields didn't play good at all. He didn't play great, but he also didn't play bad. He was just he got the win, leaned on the defense. They ran the ball, 34 carries between Najee Harris and Justin Fields. Who do you think gets the nod next week, Fields or Russ?
Oh, I think it's Fields. I think it's Fields pretty easily. The biggest thing for Fields is that he didn't make the crucial mistake that cost him the game, and that's where Justin Fields gets in his own way, right? When he's running the ball 49, 57 yards, that's fine. You're moving the ball forward, and this is where, like, people can get on me for hating Justin Fields, and that's totally cool because we have a lot of fun on the show. But the reason why Arthur Smith needs a quarterback like Justin Fields, it's to cover up for all the shit that he does wrong. When George Pickens is your only read and you can get the ball to Freiermuth every now and then, you need a player like Justin Fields who can make a play. And I think that's where having him under center is great for this offense. The passing game is going to struggle naturally because he's not the best quarterback, but even 17 for 23, like, we can give Fields a lot of credit for that. The average passing yards in the NFL this week was 185, and he had 156. Like, that is more than fine for a team that has probably a top 5-ish defense in the NFL and is going to win by grinding out these games. So I think Fields should start next week. I was very encouraged by Pickens. The biggest concern, Ray, is Jalen Warren. They said he was healthy, but he didn't play like he was healthy, or he didn't get snaps like he was healthy.
I think we saw a tad bit of this to a lesser degree, and he played well, so we sort of forgive it. But Jahmyr Gibbs also wasn't out there early and often for the Lions coming back from the hamstring. I think it's week 1. You don't want to just go out there and be like, here you go, Jalen Warren, here's 14. He re-aggravates something. Yeah. Utilize some Cordell Patterson. I do think that as he gets healthier down the line, as will Jahmyr Gibbs, they will be deployed in their offenses more. It's week 1. Hamstring injury. I think here's the best thing for Jalen Warren, Jay, is he did not suffer a setback from the game. That's what we don't want to see. So where I land on who starts next week, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure. I think it could be Russell Wilson, but let's move on to talk about Arizona and Buffalo, Jay, because Garrison said the Cows are cracking them up. Well, we're going to keep doing it because there were 2, not 1, but 2 bell cows in this game. James Conner, my goodness, just a hammer. And then you've got James Cook, the 2 James brothers, just bell cowing it up. And I'll say this, start of that game, I'm out there looking like, Josh Allen, QB1, are we sure about this? No digs. But by the end of the game, Jay, you really saw it wasn't the biggest statistical performance, We've seen bigger rushing games from Josh Allen. We've seen 300-plus yard passing attempts. But I was so impressed by him. Probably one of the most impressive performances by a quarterback that just shows we always talk about truck versus trailer. Josh Allen is a Mac effing truck. He can drag whomever it is to the win, man. They were down 17. Allen was, and he didn't have any receiver that went out there and went for $170, $150. Keon Coleman, remember that guy that people said is no good? Fade Keon. He's the best looking receiver out there that they had. Biggest playmaker, led the way in receptions and yards. And Josh Allen really put his cape on and said, I'm really like that. I'm really him. That's what he did. So impressed with Josh Allen, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you're very critical of Lamar Jackson, right, for not getting it done against the Chiefs. And you look at what Josh Allen did. And to be fair, he was at home and he was favored. But he had to will them to that victory. And that's really why you want to pay these top quarterbacks, because Josh Allen is that guy that can truly take Ray Davis and James Cook and Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir to the finish line and get a big win against the Cardinals. They were expected to win the game, but based off what happened early, he did also fumble. That was an awful fumble. But, I mean, the same thing happened for Kyler Murray. And I think it's funny when the pressure gets on and ass gets tight and it gets sweaty, Josh Allen plays his best and Kyler Murray kind of folded under the pressure to some extent. So all the credit to Josh Allen and those Buffalo Bills. I think, you know, you're looking at what could be Josh Allen's first MVP season.
Yeah.
Because if the Bills are good, we know that it's going to be because Josh Allen has to go Superman almost every single week. But, Ray, talk about the Arizona Cardinals, because it was okay for Kyler at the beginning, but it got worse and worse as the game went on. And I thought he was a little bit hyper-fixated on his guys. And you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards.
I mean, that 112 ADP, they had safeties over the top. They clearly were not going to let him get deep, let Kyler Murray take those deep shots. Now, at the end of the game, he was wide asshole open, and Kyler missed him. He scrambled around and missed him. Jay, he's a rookie. This is what how many times have we talked about this on this show? How many times have we said, as great as they are, they're still rookies, and there is a learning curve. I don't care how fucking talented you are or how high you're drafted or where people in underdog fantasy, they pick you. You're still a rookie, JRich. And when we saw him up there, we talked about it. This is high to have this player. This is high. Going that high in underdog. And speaking of underdog, if you are a new customer, use the promo code ALLGAS. Use promo code ALLGAS. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash to cash out some of these props that we're doing, some of these pick'em slips, tournaments every single weekend. So make sure you get in there, go to Underdog Fantasy, and use promo code ALLGAS. Get that cash, get those picks. But yeah, Jay, as far as the Cardinals, Greg Dortch, 8 targets, 6 receptions. They were all, I mean, it didn't really impact you for fantasy, sure. You got a couple of points out of that. Trey McBride had some opportunity. Kyler's got to be better. Kyler's got to be better. It starts and I don't care how good your pass catchers are. Kyler's got to be better. He's skittish in the pocket, scrambling around, taking sacks. Week 1. It's what happens when you don't play.
Short, intermediate.
What happens when you don't practice this is what happens. You go out there and you look pretty bad. Are you worried about Marvin Harrison?
A little. I'm a little bit. Because
here's
the only reason why, right?
Here's because you drafted him so damn high. That's why you're worried. That's why most people are worried. That's it.
I'm worried because it doesn't seem like there's any semblance of chemistry or trust there, right?
Well,
and we don't talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, to your point, it is the draft capital a little bit, but you can't afford this to take 6 to 8 weeks. Like, it is a long-term game for Arizona,
you can't.
but
you picked him 112. If it starts off slow, you kind of cook that pick. Yes.
But like all the rookie receivers, 4 receptions, 5 receptions, pretty much across the board for everyone who was, I believe, a top first, second round pick who was playing, right? Some of them didn't play as much. Xavier Legette wasn't overly involved, but like a lot of the big guys got targets. Marv somehow is the only one who didn't. And that is concerning from an OC standpoint and like getting your rookie involved in the game. Every other team was able to do it. The Cardinals were the only team that didn't.
Yeah. So hopefully they just get it together. You know, offensively, they got pieces. I thought James Conner ran well. Trey Benson didn't get a lot of opportunity. He had a nice little, or that might have been DeMarcado that had a little play. Nice little play. It was DeMarcado. Had a nice little play.
Yeah,
but
the
James
return.
Conner, Yeah, the return. James Conner's going to be a hammer. Trey McBride got 9 targets, so I feel really good about that. The fact that McBride was involved in the offense. And I do think this is a case where even though Marv is not a squeaky wheel, I do think he'll get greased up next week. They will prioritize
That's what I mean, right?
Their top pick the ball next week. So tough for week 1. He's a rookie. This is what happens. He's probably going to face that type of treatment this season, though. He's probably going to face superstar coverage. So learning on-the-job training from Marvin Harrison Jr.
Absolutely.
I'll just say this. The ADP was all – I don't care how he finishes. The ADP was always a risk. Drafting him as high as we did was always very, very – it's a very, very risky game to play, Jay. Where are we moving to next?
All right, so let's get to the stinker in Chicago because there was about nothing that was good in this game outside of maybe Tony Pollard, right? He's probably the only one that looked okay.
Yes, absolutely. We're not going to poo-poo TP. TP played very well. Tony Pollard was absolutely a bright spot in this game on a team where we thought it was going to be a true 1A, 1B. The Tennessee Titans said, F all that. It's going to be a lot of Tony Pollard. Now, Tajay Spears was involved to a degree in the receiving game. He caught his 4 receptions, only 11 yards. Led the team in receptions, actually, but it was Tony Pollard's 16 for 82, 5 yards of rush attempt, and 1 rushing touchdown that really stood out from the Tennessee side of the ball. Calvin Ridley did absolutely nothing, 3 for 50. Will Levis was booty. Booty.
Yeah, he was bad.
JRich.
And he got worse.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Will Levis definitely cost him that game. The one reception was bad enough, but the one where he went full Carson Wentz was not good.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it was
doing?
not good. But I will say, though, Ray, and this is something that we talked about a lot all offseason, I think that Brian Callahan still could have something with this team. There was some bad mistakes from Levis, and he's going to have to own that and play better. But I think that Callahan did the things that we should expect from this offense. He leaned on the running backs a lot. It was Tony Pollard's day. He played great. I'm not so worried about Spears. I think Spears will have his weeks as well. Ridley got 7 targets. So, again, 350, not great, but not horrible for your number one receiver. And he was discounted a little bit, so he was okay. But, I mean, Levis was short, intermediate, quick passing, bad mistakes down the stretch, but I think there could be something if it continues to build off here. I am a little bit higher on this team, and I'm not all the way out on them just yet. I think the prices are still more than fine. But Chicago, Ray, Caleb Williams is awful. He was horrible.
Yeah,
and
Caleb
so what do you expect from Caleb?
Caleb knows he was bad. I think it was the lowest amount of passing yards
he's probably ever had.
On a team win. No, it was like a team win in the debut, since 2020. It was a while. Yeah. But he did not play well.
He was full Tyrese Halliburton with his gold medal, right?
He
was Tyrese Halliburton with his gold medal. He didn't do shit.
He was holding up that gold medal and did very little to contribute to that win. But again, rookie quarterback, week 1, Jay, this is to be expected. This is to be expected. Caleb Williams did not play well, though. No, he was not good. Yeah. 14 for 29, 3.2 yards an attempt. Sacked multiple times, should have thrown a couple of picks.
Showed some flashes, but a lot of bad.
The offense was bad. The O for Chicago was not good, JRich. It was not good. The running game didn't do shit. The receiving game. Gerald Everett, Jay, 1 for -1. DeAndre Carter, 1 for 6. Cole Kmet, 1 for 4. Velus Jones, 1 for 8, and kicked the shit out of a kick return up and turned the ball over. Romo Dunze, 1 for 11, and DJ Moore, 5 for 36. It was not a good day for Chicago. They got to be better. They've got to be better, Jay. Let's move on to another game. There's not a lot to talk about out of there. You're still going to...
Are you rolling out Caleb Williams next week? That's the question. That's the only question for me.
Who do they play? Who do they play
give
next
me one
week?
second.
Yeah,
Houston.
All right.
Houston's defense didn't look great.
Let's talk about, I mean, how many survivor pools were wrecked off of this game? The drama going in and out. Is he going to play? He's sick. He's got a stomach bug. Well, Jamar Chase, he played, JRich. Jamar Chase played, and when they threw him the ball, he played well. But unfortunately, Jay, the Cincinnati Bengals, they lost at home to the Jacoby Brissett-led New England Patriots, who threw the ball for 121 yards. No passing touchdowns. But Ramondre, where's it at? Bell Cow Stevenson, 25 for 120, caught 3 passes. My goodness, Jay. What do we even do with this one? Now, to be fair to Cincinnati, Mike Gesicki drops a touchdown pass. Tanner McLean, whatever his name is, he scores a touchdown. He fumbles the damn ball, right? Like, to be fair to Burrow. But, I mean, yeah, his final numbers don't look great, but I just want to provide some context there. All this yapping, Yoshi Voss, Burton, everybody bitching and complaining, trying to swing that thing around, who's going to be. They didn't do nothing, Jay. None of them. All of them awful, Jay. Outside of 6 for 62 for Jamar Chase. Running game sure looked like they could have used some guy out of Houston. And did you hear what that guy out of Houston said? They asked him something about Cincinnati. And Mixon said, I'm going to leave them right where they left me. Mixon seems a little disgruntled about that departure from Cincinnati. That's another story for another day. But talk about your Patriots. Remember that KJ Osborne leading the way, Jay, or close to it. 3 for 21.
We were on that. I think it was 16 and a half. We nailed it.
Tyquan Thornton, Pop Douglas, 2 for 12. What is going on? Was this truly just the case of no T. Higgins, Jamar Chase in and out, Cincinnati no problem?
D-Gaff Chase.
What is this, Jay? Talk to me.
Well, one, the Patriots' defense was much better than people thought it would be, right? Like, this was a 9.5 to 7.5 point spread. If Chase is in, Chase is out, T. Higgins, blah, 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 whatever. But the Patriots' defense is good. And that's where people who are going the survivor route with the Bengals, yeah, they're at home. But I think we've seen this story before. When Higgins or Chase miss a game, Burrow kind of a little shaky, right? And with the wrist injury coming back, first game, all that kind of stuff. The story of this entire game is Ramondre Stevenson, because he is the only reason they won this game. Jacoby Brissett hung in there and got smoked multiple times. Like, all credit to Jacoby for hanging in there. I thought we'd see Drake May.
I thought we were going to see Drake May, too. I was like, oh, man.
And he would have to win the game. And heaven forbid May gets in there, throws a pick six or something, they lose the game. But Jacoby hung in there. Ramondre was phenomenal. And the biggest thing is that the Pats are terrible, but I think the bigger story is we need to be concerned for the Bengals. I understand everyone thinks it's just like, oh, sign Chase, get Higgins back, week 1. Like, you have no running game. They didn't utilize Chase Brown like we expected. Burrow wasn't very good. And Zach Taylor continues to be one of the worst coaches in the NFL. People blame Brian Callahan. People talk about this. But all the reports for like the past 3 years, even when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, it's because Joe Burrow can be so good, not because Zach Taylor is a good head coach and not because he's a good offensive playmaker or scheme coordinator. Like, there is real issues, I think, in Cincinnati. They can clean them up, but without everyone healthy, this team is average at best. And you saw that on Sunday when them losing to the Patriots.
Yeah, I was talking to some people, and their offensive groupings were very predictable. All they did was run 11 personnel out of shotgun. They did move Jamar Chase around, though. He played 60% of his targets, I believe, were on the outside. He got another 40% of his targets from the slot. So the utilization of Chase was fantastic. There was no identity on the ground, man. Chase Brown was putrid. He's running in the back of his offensive lineman. Zach Moss had a play in the game, but it just appeared to me as a casual fan, and I don't know what you do on Sundays, y'all, but for me, Jay, our Discord is popping, but I don't really fool with them on Sundays. I've got my notebook out. We're watching games. We're taking notes. We're prepping. I don't got time to be chatting back and forth. But I'm watching it, dude, and it just felt like there was no identity. It felt like the guy that they let go or shipped off to Houston would have been that tone setter for that team to help take some pressure off of Joe Burrow. And it didn't seem like he really had that from his backfield, mates. I mean, they had 12 carries outside of Burrow's 4. They had 12 RB carries.
And the Pats had 39.
That's a huge discrepancy there, man. And New England got the job done. Good for Gerard Mayo, good for Jacoby Brissett, and even better for Ramondre Stevenson, who, if you have him right now, you're holding on for dear life because he is a you-know-what, Jay. Bell Cow Stevenson. Let's freaking go. Now, quick question. Jamar Chase. How disgruntled do you think he is?
I think he's pretty disgruntled, right?
How disgruntled? He is all we continue. He just strikes me as one that is that.
He's very disgruntled. Yeah.
He just strikes me.
If I could define disgruntled, there'd be a picture of Jamar Chase up in the dictionary right now.
Pretty soon, we're going to see Jamar Chase in his driveway doing freaking sit-ups. Shirt off. Can you
demanding
not
a trade to
see
San
Chase doing
Francisco?
that? If there were a receiver in the NFL to be in his driveway cussing out the media as he does sit-ups, showing off his physique, it would be Jamar Chase. Just
feel like it might be Jamar Chase.
Get your popcorn ready.
I feel bad saying
Jay,
it, but it seems like it'd be Jamar
we got
Chase.
We got almost 1,300 people watching across all platforms. If y'all are watching, we appreciate y'all waking up with us every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. We got dope content creators. We put out dope information over here on DD Fantasy Football. We only ask one thing. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching, do us a big favor. We ain't powered by no big name companies, none of that stuff. We're trying to get this shit out the mud ourselves. So we're going to go on a little break, run them likes up for us, and we'll be back to get into Houston and the rest of the games from this past Sunday. Let's go.
Winners.
Appreciate y'all. All right, let's talk about him. We talked about the hammer. My goodness, Jay. I am we did good on this call, Jay. We did very good on this call right here. Joe Mixon and the Houston Texans. My goodness. Where's he at? Joe Bell Cow Mixon. JRich. Talk about the Indianapolis Colts. They lost by 2 points to the Houston Texans, but there was a lot of fantasy goodness in this one, but none better than 30 carries, 159 yards, 1 rushing TD from Joe Mixon, and he still gave you 3 pass catches for 19 yards. We tried to tell you, Jay. Joe Mixon, let's go.
Inevitable.
Bell Cow Mixon, my God, JRich.
I mean, we were on it. We said, like, Joe Mixon is going to be a thing, whether you like it or not. Like, it's one of those things where for his entire career, after he got that starting job, like, he's been a bell cow. He's been the guy. And you look at Houston, you're like, what do they need? They need a strong running game to complement their dynamic passing attack. And my goodness, 30 carries for Joe Mixon to only Dameon Pierce's 3 is utterly insane. And especially when you compare it to the other side, where Jonathan Taylor had 16 carries for 48 yards and ended up losing the game. So far, the theme of the past 2 games, what have we seen, Ray? The team that ran the ball won the game. It's very simple sometimes in the NFL. If you can run the ball effectively, you can win the game. And teams like Cincinnati that try to throw to win all the time, it's just not always going to work that way. But Joe Mixon was absolutely ridiculous. And Nico Collins, Ray, surprised me. He was the clear guy. He was the alpha. And I was a little concerned, but
Trust the Trinity.
Nico was the guy.
Trust it. Well, the receiving core, Nico led the way with 117, but Tank Dell was second in targets, but then Stephon Diggs led the way in touchdowns. Nico led the way. It's still kind of
Diggs, baby.
But the roles are so clear. You got to trust it.
Yeah.
DDFantasyFootball.com. He was the very first Trinity-find player. Nico Collins going out there, 19.5 yards of reception. Like, he is their big play downfield threat. Stephon Diggs is probably going to be utilized short. He and Nico Collins and Tank Dell, they got no targets in the slot. 0 slot targets. All Stephon Diggs. Diggs' targets, he got some inside and outside, but there was one constant. Nico and Tank on the outside, Dell on the inside. CJ Stroud, 234, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked a bunch in this game. He had to run
4
around.
times.
CJ Stroud early. That's the rust I'm okay with, right? That's the rust.
Still gotta deliver.
CJ Stroud was awesome for fantasy, got the job done, but he wasn't his best, right? But I can take that type of rust. You're not going to sell me that Kirk Cousins is just rusty. Like that looked way worse than rust. So no concerns about Stroud. Fire up Joe Mixon at all costs. Angry runs left and right. And this is what you get when you got 3 dope receivers and a fantastic OC and Bobby Slowick running lanes are going to be plentiful with a solid offensive line and a good defense. Now, on the other side of the ball, Anthony Richardson, Jay, only completed 9 passes. If I told you Rich was only going to complete 9 passes and still finishes a top 5 quarterback, Jay, would you believe me? Would you believe me, Jay Rich?
Hell
the 101 from 2023. We try to tell people from the heavens to the high heavens, Alpha and the Omega. This is the 101. This is why you take a player like Rich, because when shit hits the fan and he can't hit the broadside of the barn, he still can finish as a top 5 quarterback. And he should have broken fantasy. He missed on 2 big plays to Adnan Mitchell in this game. Hits Antoine Pierce off his back foot. One of the most ridiculous deep passes you will ever see in the NFL. Anthony Richardson, Jay. This is why you draft him. We're here talking fantasy points. I ain't no damn fan of the Colts, so you might be a little more concerned than me. But from a fantasy perspective, Jay, talk about Anthony Eugene Richardson.
Yeah, this is why we called him Himothy from the very beginning, from the time he was at Florida, week 1 against Utah, when he did a 360 and threw a dart in the back of the end zone.
Bro,
this is why you draft Anthony Richardson.
His butt cheeks were clenched, Jay. He's throwing the ball
65 yards.
Clenched.
Crazy. All
off his back
all
butt.
arm talent, man.
Crazy,
Didn't set his feet. Didn't give a F. He chucked it 60 yards to Alec Pierce. And Ray, I do want to say one thing though.
Clinched.
And this is where, when you watch the show, this is like a culmination of multiple things. One thing that we said week in and week out last season.
I got gray sweatshorts on too, for those y'all asking. Yes, I do have them.
Who's asking that? Jesus.
Turn the music off, man. Turn the music off, man.
No, this is fun. But either way, the big thing with Pierce, and the reason why this is like a culmination of a lot of things, is that he was consistently on the field and running routes. And finally, they were able to utilize him in his best attribute, and that is getting down the field and making big plays. There should have been way more for Adnan Mitchell because he had 2 touchdowns that Anthony Richardson could not deliver on. But my goodness, this was both great and awful from Rich. But I will take it if he's QB4 every single week.
Listen, man, Rich got to be better, man. You got to make them throws. Rich,
he missed some bad throws.
You got to be better, Rich, but I will take it. He looked dominant, man. He finished the game. He took some big shots in this game, too. So the fact that he was able to get up, finish the game, they didn't get the dub.
56 on the ground and that toddy.
We're good. But the receivers, I mean, Pittman, 4 for 31. It was really nothing but Anthony Richardson. It was Anthony Richardson. JT saved the day with the rushing touchdown. But other than that, they've got to be better, man. 9 completions. Antoine Pierce, though, I'll just say this.
He's going to be on the field, Ray. This is where I have concerns now. If Alec Pierce is playing like this, he's on the field. Why?
I don't know because AD still had 5. Because AD still had 5 targets. And these aren't, hold on, but what I'm saying is these aren't hopium plays. There were 2 bona fide 50-plus yard touchdowns that it wasn't AD's fault. Anthony Richardson's got to make that play. So he still out-targeted him. He's there, man. That's all I'm saying, man.
But Downs is going to come back. That has been my fear from the very beginning. I think this is Downs' job.
Well, then Ashton Dulin doesn't score that play then. But that's not going to – I don't think that's going to stop Adnan.
Maybe.
I don't think that's going to stop AD. So – let's keep it pushing, Jay. Let's go quickly.
Sick game, though. Holy, what a game.
Well, what about this sick game? Let me just ask you about this sick game, and I'm just going to show you a picture and just tell me what we're doing, Jay. What do we do, Jay?
Oh, Ray, let me tell you something, my friend.
Oh, boy.
You wanted it. You believed. We said it could still happen. We got Dave Canales.
Oh,
it's over. It's over. There's no coming back. Okay, but Ray, I have a serious question for you because this is legit. There's no way they don't have the #1 overall pick. There's no way.
Shador.
That's the question.
Quinn, get ready to learn Carolina. Get ready to learn.
Start looking for real estate in Carolina because it's happening, buddy.
I'm going to just say this, man. We're not going to talk much about this. Didn't we praise
There's no
Canales
takeaways from the game.
Didn't we praise Canales for his use of all these different personnel groupings? And we ripped Frank Wright to shreds because all they ran was 11 personnel with that bad O-line.
Yep.
You know what they did? You know what they did on Sunday?
Must just ran 11.
Just ran 11 personnel. It just, Jay.
But Canales runs 11, though, quite a bit, doesn't he?
You can't run the same offensive grouping when you're not finding success, dude. There was no running game. There's nobody. Jay, the best looking receiver out there was the rookie, Xavier Legette. JRich. Legette led the way with 7 targets, 4 for 35. Mingo.
John Mingo, though. Come on,
Yeah.
Ray. Not so bad.
They got to run the ball, man. They got to run the ball better than what they did. You're not. There's a common theme here. You've got to be able to run the ball. You look on the other side of the ball. New Orleans ran it 37 times for 180, opposed to 20 for 58. Alvin Kamara looked good. Hell, Jamal Williams was on the field. Look,
Scored a touchdown,
everybody looked good, but nobody on the week, Jay. Hit the music for the MVP after week 1. The MVP of the NFL.
You couldn't even get it out.
I'm just kidding. I can't even get it out. But Derek Carr was awesome, Jay. 19 for 23, 200 yards. And you know, in his mind, he talked the most shit you can possibly talk because it was all Spencer Rattler's going to take his job and all this other stuff. Derek Carr was out there surgical, dog. Surgical. Foster Moreau.
You see what he said to J.C. Horn?
What?
He said to J.C. Horn, I got 3 touchdowns on you, bro. Take a hike.
3.
In the middle of the game. Derek Carr said that.
I love Derek Carr. He is shit-talking MVP 101, 102. I love me some Derek Carr. Taysom Hill, 5 for 35. Oh, man, the Saints are a mess.
Taysom is inevitable. They didn't need him this game.
Olave didn't do anything, just awful. It's probably going to be rough this year.
How about Shaheed, though, Ray? Come on.
Your boy. Talk about him. Shaheed.
How many years I've been telling you people about Shaheed? This guy goes out first drive, 60-yard tutty. Let's go.
Yeah, everybody in the chat saying he hates Olave. He and Olave.
Oh, because Olave hates him. You know Olave hates him. Hates him.
All right.
Hilarious.
All right, Jay, where are we moving to? We out of that dirty game. Minnesota, we want to go Jacksonville, Miami? We should have played
easily the funniest game all week.
We should have played some Akon. Locked up. They won't let me out. They won't let me out. Locked up. They won't let me out. Tyreek was locked up before the game, but unfortunately, the Jacksonville Jaguars could not lock him up in the game because he had 7 for 130 and an 80-yard touchdown, 80-yard touchdown play. Jalen Waddle had 100 yards. Devon Achane had 76 yards through the air. They couldn't lock up any damn body. Tyreek Hill detained before the game. Shouldn't have been in the black McLaren, I guess. But he gets on the field and he does Tyreek Hill things. He limped off a couple of times too. Tyreek Hill things. It doesn't matter. Most dangerous player in the NFL. Tua, 338, sacked a couple of times, threw the touchdown pass. Running game really wasn't on track for Miami, but they tried. 25 rush attempts. Hey, talk about Miami quickly, Jay.
They got really lucky, in my opinion. They definitely should have lost this game, but Tua got it done. Tyreek Hill, Waddle, both over 100. Tyreek, obviously, insanely dominant. Achane seems like the clear bell cow, which I was not hoping for, given I was...
Did you hear he popped up on the injury thing before the show?
I know. I'm nervous now. If you got Achane, you should be a little nervous, right? And I think the bigger concern for me, why is Jeff Wilson getting carries? Like, there's no reason for him to get any carries, but he led the team in rushing. He had 5 carries. Mostert had 6. And then the bigger thing is Achane, all of the receiving work. That's just fine. He's a great receiver, and we'll take that for fantasy. But I didn't expect this discrepancy. When you talk about what we expect from Miami, I expected a split backfield, very similar in terms of touches. It was all Achane, which is sick if you got him, because if he gets 17 opportunities a game, he is going to smash. But I think we talk about the Jags and how they totally blew this game and how we, Ray, touted this receiver all off season, and Brian Thomas Jr. got it done in his first game, led the team in receptions, second in receiving yards with 47, only behind Gabe Davis, and the only player to score a touchdown because he is a dominant outside red zone threat and drew a PI in the end zone as well. He was, oh my goodness, so good in this game. So good.
Yeah.
For a rookie.
BTJ is going to be a problem, man. Once he figures it out, They get him more involved. Gabe Davis did lead the way with 62 yards, though. So big play Gabe still was doing big play Gabe things. The more concerning problem, outside of Trevor Lawrence's poor play in week 1, the running back splits, Jay. 12 for ETN, 12 for Tank Bigsby. He did rip off that one long run when they were backed up on their side of the end zone. But 26 carries, 128. ETN did score. He did fumble, and that's kind of what ETN does. Are you a little concerned about that backfield of Biggs? I saw somebody in the chat, I think it was Jimbo, said beamed up for Bigsby. Are you beamed up for that Tank Bigsby? Do you think that there's a little bit of a problem here, Jay?
I definitely think there's more of a problem for Travis Etienne than I'm beamed up for Tank Bigsby. I think, to everyone's credit, he did look good, right? And he probably deserves more carries going forward. If he's going to play like this, yeah, get him the ball, because you don't need to give Etienne 20 carries a game. Sure, he's done it in college. We saw it last season, but we also saw him break down a little bit last year when it was late in the season and they still needed to rely on him heavily. Tank Bigsby coming off a great first week. I think we see more of him in week 2. The question remains, though, Ray, what are they going to do in the passing game? Because the passing game was awful. And granted, it's week 1, but we expect a lot more from Trevor Lawrence than 21 attempts, more importantly, and 162 passing yards. This is a team that you pegged for 650 pass attempts. And they just didn't get it done.
They let off the gas. Yeah, that was a weird game, man. JRich, probably the ugliest uniforms on the day. Those Giants uniforms were something stanky, JRich. They were not good. I did not like them. There goes Malik Neighbors, man. I called him after the game. I told him good game. He didn't answer, but I left him a message, told him good game, and things hopefully will get better, man. If I told you, Jay, at the beginning of the game that Daniel Jones was going to throw the ball twice as many times as the Vikings, 42, you probably would be like, man, Malik Neighbors led the way in targets, right? If I told you, Jay, 42 attempts, Malik Neighbors, you'd be like, oh, man, he smashed.
Had to have at least 10.
Didn't have over 7, Jay. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 66 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson led the way, 12 targets, whom, if you watched us on Bleacher Report, we called it. We said, hey, watch out for Wan'Dale Robinson. Defense is focused on the rookie. He's probably going to face one-on-one coverage and be open early and often. He didn't do anything with him, 6 for 44, but out-targeted Malik Neighbors. I don't believe that's going to be some long-standing trend. But this Malik Neighbors line, you know what it looks like, JRich? Looks like an old Drake London line from 2 years ago. Looks like an old Terry McLaurin line from a few years ago. So this is what we talked about. He looked great, man. Get him the ball. I'd be throwing him every play that I could. But what was very clear was there's a lack of a running game. The offensive line is still very problematic. And outside of Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, they don't have much of anything else. Theo Johnson dropping passes. Jalen Hyatt, not very good. Trusted Trinity told you that months ago at the end of last season that was a player you did not want to invest any capital in for fantasy football. It's going to be rough. This is a team. Sanders, Beck, Ewers, Nussmeier, whomever the hell you got as QB1, learn New York. Learn the subway system. Learn how to use the Metro card. Learn how to use it because you will be there next year. They've got to do something. This is no good. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Jay, is about as good of a start as you can ask for from Sam Darnold, who was lights out, started out 12 for 12. Jefferson did not have a big receiving day, but he did score. He did lead the way in targets. Aaron Jones was dynamic all day. And as I'm watching this game, Jay, in my notes, what I put down was Kevin O'Connell might be the GOAT. The play calling from Kevin O'Connell in this game was just, they just did a really good job of keeping Sam Darnold within his game. And I'm excited about what McCarthy could do. If he comes back next season, I'm excited about what he can do in this offense. Live arm. Darnold's got a live arm. Like, don't get it. Listen, man, he's not a good long-term starter, but he's got an arm. Like, he can put the ball wherever he needs to. Kevin O'Connell, really good. Justin Jefferson, keep firing up. Jalen Naylor, I don't have a ton of interest in him. He did score the touchdown. Yeah. Beautiful pass by Sam Darnold. I mean, that was a dart because he was facing pressure. I don't know what other takeaways there are, Jay. Chad Chandler didn't do much. He is the backup running back. It's, firing up your Jets, you're firing up your Aaron Jones from the Vikings.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold led the league in completion percentage over expectation, right? So he maybe got a little bit lucky, but this is where you look at that stats like this, and it is manufactured to some extent by the OC. Like, you look at all the guys that are really high in these numbers, it's like Tua and, San Francisco disciples and Rams disciples. Like, this is just kind of what happens. But Darnold was very, very good in this game. The one thing I will say about Wan'Dale Robinson, and the only reason why I think it's not going to necessarily end, is because this offensive line is so bad. Brian Flores, and this is where we talked about on Bleacher Report. Brian Flores was going to light up Daniel Jones. Like, he was going to light up Daniel Jones. It's exactly what happened. They had to get the ball out quick. So I'm not saying he's a viable starter, but if you need a guy who's probably going to get targets every single week, like, he could be a guy who has a, low floor, but maybe has a bit of a floor week to week simply because he has to get targets in this offense. They have to get the ball out quick because there's just no time for Jones to throw.
Right, Jay, let's talk about the Chargers and my Raiders, Jay. My Raiders.
This game was horrible.
This was not a good game, man. This was now look, we're here for fantasy football. So from a fantasy perspective, Gardner Minshew 257. If you had to start him, you'll take the 257 and a touchdown if you had to start him. Devontae Adams 5 for 59. Brock Bowers did his thing, 6 for 58. I thought that was a great performance.
Was very good. He
looks very good, JRich. He looks very good. I think Trey Tucker is one of those. If he's on waivers in deeper leagues, pick up Trey Tucker. He should not be on waivers. The speed is evident. I do think that he will continue to be integrated in this offense as we move along. Jacoby Myers did kind of what Jacoby Myers does. He's there and he's fine. He's a solid piece. The rushing attack was downright bad. Zamir White fumbling the ball. And the thing is, when he gets a crease, he looks good because he's big and he's fast. But 13 for 44. We did not see Dylan Lobby on the field. Alexander Madison is the one who scored on the receiving touchdown. Raiders offense just looked bad. And Antonio Pierce deciding to punt the ball in that moment of the time. It just, like, what are you doing, man? But then I look at the other side, and it wasn't that Justin Herbert dominated because they were equally as bad through the air. 17 for 26, 144. He didn't look comfortable back there. There weren't any dynamic receivers on that side of the ball. Ladd McConkey did lead the way. Your bet so far, 5 receptions, 39 yards to Josh Palmer's 2 for 15. So far, you are doubling me up along the way. But really, Jay, this game was won, and this team was carried by the one leg of J.K. Dobbins, who a lot of people poo-pooed all off season when they signed. There's no way he'll make the roster. He makes the roster. There's no way he's going to make it through training camp. He makes it through training camp, and then there's no way he's actually going to get the ball. And not only did he get the ball, he looked significantly better than Gus Edwards or anybody else that they have. 10 for 135. Even that long 61-yard run, our injury analyst, Jeff Mueller, shout out to Jeff, one of the best in fantasy football, said that he does not believe that J.K. Dobbins is 100% healthy right now. You saw him pull up on that long run. But he was very explosive, and this is just going to be a nasty, nasty offense. I know people may not like this. I thought Quentin Johnson looked good. I thought he played well. Ooh. There were not a lot of opportunities at all in this offense from a passing perspective. 144 yards. There's just not going to be a lot of fantasy goodness. Ladd McConkey scored, which saved his day. But I thought QJ went up, made some good plays, was aggressive, even on some ones where he didn't catch it. The ball was thrown out of bounds. I thought he made the most of his very limited opportunity. But the one thing that you can say is he received 5 targets. He was second on the team in targets. He was on the field. So love him or hate him, Quentin Johnson is probably going to have an opportunity to play and make plays for us. He should not be on waivers, Jay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. QJ did his thing, right?
And listen. I'm not comparing QJ to CeeDee Lamb. I'm not comparing him to Mike Evans. I'm comparing him to what they currently have on the Chargers and what the Chargers are going to do. There's going to be opportunity for QJ to produce.
So question for you. If you had to choose one, would you take Quentin Johnston or Joshua Palmer? Like, you got Joshua Palmer.
I got to stick
Quentin
with
Johnson's
Josh Palmer,
on
man.
waivers.
I got to stick with Josh Palmer. But
Okay.
QJ's
Because
gonna
obviously,
be on the
like, they're
field.
both not going to eat, right? Ladd led the team in targets, so he's probably going to, for the most part, get the majority of the targets or be the target leader on the team. My biggest takeaway, honestly, from this game is I think the Chargers are going to be a problem for fantasy. Not because their team is bad, but it seems like every game they play is going to be a lot like this one. Grind it out, short passes, a lot of running the football, a lot of shortening the possessions, not a lot of time for the other team. And this is where, you have to give Harbaugh a little credit. This team played okay. Like, it wasn't super bad. Offensively, they struggled, but we should have expected that. But defensively, they played a lot better than we've seen from the Chargers in the past. So I think it's going to be a struggle for teams playing the Chargers. And I think that the offense as a whole is going to be great for fantasy. But Dobbins was phenomenal. We'll see if he keeps doing it, but he was great in week 1.
He was awesome. Good for J.K. Dobbins. All right, Jay. We talked about this player a lot in the preseason, and he had us very nervous because we said that if this player ever made a Pro Bowl, we're done. Wake up is over. I got to find a new job. If that, I'll just do barbecue videos. I'll start doing that. Smoked a nice brisket this weekend. But Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos fell 20-26 versus Seattle. This game, too, was quite interesting to say. It was pretty disgusting. Bo Nix threw the ball 42 times compared to 25 for Geno Smith. The Seattle Seahawks ran the ball 33 times for 146. Kenneth Walker led the way. Bell Cow Walker, 20 for 103, scored a rushing touchdown, did get injured in this game. On the other side of the ball, Jaleel McLaughlin looked not good. He was dropping balls, fumbling. Javonte Williams only got 8 rush attempts. Bo Nix throwing the ball a ton. And when you look at the receivers, Cortland Sutton led the way with 12 freaking targets, but only converted 4 of those into receptions, 38 yards. Josh Reynolds led the way with 45 yards. Greg Dulcich, nothing. Ugh.
Yeah.
Jay.
Bo Picks came out to play in this one. Check down Charlie, extraordinaire. We talk about, Will Levis checking it down. We talk about Caleb Williams. We talk about this guy, that guy. Bo Nix is the check down king, man. This guy, once he missed the throw to Sutton, probably didn't throw the ball more than 10 yards the rest of the game. He did run in that touchdown, which was good for fantasy if you, for some reason, were starting him. But outside of that, he looked awful. And I wouldn't say the Seattle defense is great, but they did bring in Mike McDonald, so we can acknowledge there is a world where maybe the Seattle defense is much better than it was last season. But Kenneth Walker was great. The pass catchers outside of Lockett were pretty awful.
Jay,
JSN wasn't good. Metcalf wasn't good.
Listen,
Lockett was pretty
people
good.
aren't going to like this. All I'm going to say is if you trust it, Trinity Score said JSN was not the play. That's what it said.
Yeah.
He went out there and he did what I looked at the numbers, Jay. They run a lot of 11 personnel, and they run some 12, but it didn't matter, right? JSN was out there in 12. Tyler Lockett was not. So it was JSN and DK Metcalf in 2 wide receiver sets. They didn't do anything out of that. Now, how much can you really expect when you only throw the ball 25 times for 171 yards? This is one where JSN historically, what he did last year, just puts him in a non-mattering range for receivers. He's got a dope name, and he's probably pretty good. But it doesn't matter if you're not going to be prioritizing the offense. If the quarterback's not, it doesn't matter, Jay.
Yeah.
We did this. We did this with London. We do this with JSN. We're about to do this now with Neighbors to a degree. Like, the receivers dependent on the offense. It's dependent on the quarterback.
Quarterback stinks.
You can say it's just week 1, no big deal. Lockett 7, DK 4. They bested
on
him
the
again.
team in targets. 6th behind both running backs in targets. You can't have that on your fantasy team. You just can't. Anything else from Denver and Seattle?
We'll see how it plays out, but I'm not ignoring this. But JRich, the Commanders and the Buccaneers, Jay, 37-20. Jaden Daniels, 184 yards through the air, but 88 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Where did he finish as QB what, JRich?
QB3, but he was bested by his counterpart, who was QB2.
QB2, Baker Mayfield, who was absolutely cooking. I have not seen Baker Mayfield that locked in since his time at Oklahoma. I mean, he was dialed the fuck in. My goodness. And everybody ate. Chris Godwin, 8 for 88 and a touchdown. Mike Evans, JRich, he is going to be the death of you because you don't like Mike Evans, and Mike Evans keeps coming out there and showing you why he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. 5 for 61 and 2 grown man touchdowns by Mike Evans. Grown man TDs. Jalen McMillan only caught 1 pass, but he scored a touchdown. Should have had 2.
Dang.
Should have had 2 touchdowns for Jalen McMillan. Hey, man, Rashad White, inefficient once again. Bucky Irving, 9 for 62. Jay, this offense, man, the Buccaneers, Jay, they might be for real. They took Detroit to the brink last year en route to their playoff run. But this Tampa Bay offense looked damn good, Jay.
Yeah, it's an encouraging start. But I don't want to go too crazy on Tampa, only because it's the Commanders, right? And the only reason why I bring this up is the Commanders were the worst secondary in the league last year. Like, there's no other way to put it. Every other wide receiver who dominated them or played against them dominated. A.J. Brown dominated them last season. DJ Moore dominated them last season. Mike Evans, what do you know? Dominated them week 1 for 2 touchdowns. So that's the only reason why it's like, okay, we want to start receivers against the Commanders, but let's see what the Bucs need to do. Definitely, in my opinion, Ray, who would you say is the leader right now for the NFC South? Would you say it's the Bucs or would you say it's the Saints? Because I think it's both teams played really, really good week 1. One team had Carolina.
I'll give Tampa Bay.
I think so too.
I give Tampa Bay the nod right now. Let me ask you, any concerns about Terry McLaurin? Only 4 targets. I mean, this was the guy we were drafting high. He is going to – are you concerned?
Yes. If Jaden's not throwing the ball down the field, what is Terry going to do? I mean, Austin Eckler, 4 targets. Brian Robinson, 4 targets. Zach Ertz, 4 targets. Luke McCaffrey, 3 targets. Terry McLaurin, 4 targets. That's not going to work, right? There has to be some semblance of a hierarchy in this offense for Terry to really, really thrive. And if he's going to be dumping it off a lot, again, it's game 1. Jaden can develop, throw the ball down the field more, but it is a little bit scary to not see some semblance of downfield work from Jaden Daniels. He had 1 or 2 reads, and then he was off. Credit to him. He was very effective. 16 for 88, 2 touchdowns. He was really good running the ball, but if this is going to be the case, Terry's not going to be good for fantasy.
Yeah, he protected the ball, right? 17 for 24, 184. So, I mean,
the O-line was bad too. Really bad.
The O-line has been bad. It's been a problem since they traded Trent Williams 10 years ago. It's been bad.
Fumbled
16 carries is the bigger issue. Jaden Daniels is going to run. If that first or second read in there, he is going to run. He's going to take off. He's dynamic, and he almost is gotten almost 20% of his season-long rushing prop of 500 yards. He almost got that in 1 game. So this is why you draft these type of quarterbacks, because they can move, and when they rush the ball in, whatever you get through the air is like an added bonus. Jaden Daniels is going to be fun as we move forward through fantasy. But, Jay, I had to save. I wanted to cry tears of joy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, Jay. When I saw the alert come through that Dak Prescott was paid JRich.
Count that money, man. Count that fucking money, man.
Oh, Jay. Highest paid ever. $231 million guaranteed. We got our quarterback in the future, and I did not think it was going to happen. But not only did he get paid, Jay, he went out there and put foot in what? Backside, Jay. He put foot in ASS, and I ain't talking about no separation score. I'm talking about butt cheeks. He put all of that size 13 cowboy boot right up the Cleveland Browns' ass. He went out there and dog walked the Browns 33-17. He didn't have to do a ton.
You would have thought he had 300 yards.
I do all of that, but I'm excited he got paid. He threw for 179 yards, and he was kind of a little bit through the game, but we locked him up. The point is, Dallas got it done. The running game didn't do much. Zeke Elliott led the way. CeeDee Lamb looked really good, but they didn't have to do a lot because Deshaun Watson did everything for him. Deshaun Watson did everything for the Dallas Cowboys, Jay. And talk about him. Look at him. Sad down there. Threw for 289 yards more than Dak. I mean, excuse me. That was Baker Mayfield.
It was like he threw for 169.
Not Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was not good in the game. Yeah. But Amari Cooper dropped a touchdown pass. He would have had like a 50-yard touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. dropped the ball. Yeah, he dropped it. It was.
He
give
did,
Deshaun
but
his
okay,
credit on
Ray.
that. He was awful all game, but he dropped the touchdown pass.
Okay, Ray, you're a wide receiver. You're probably top 20 in the league in terms of getting open. This guy's overthrowing you left and right all game. You got no hope at catching a pass. Finally, he stands in the pocket, gets absolutely smoked. And, Amari couldn't quite get it. It was a good pass. It was catchable. I thought it was, a tough catch, but we expected Amari to make it. But yeah, like when he's throwing shit around the yard all game long, you don't expect him to finally make the throw. Amari didn't get it. Sucks for fantasy. But Watson's awful, man. Like Debro said it on the show. He needs to be benched. How long is it going to last? We don't know, but there's just no hope. Dallas's defense is great. All credit to them. They are a great defense, but Watson was well beyond the defense being good. He was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous in this game.
Debro said it. Debro said, I don't think he finishes the season. And that was the type of home loss where they were favored, Jay. The Browns were favored. And if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, Jay, if you're a fan of Dallas, I think one of the most impressive things the defense played really well. Like the defense played well.
Yeah, defense was great.
The two rookie offensive linemen, Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton, they held up as good as you can versus that defense. Good game by Dallas. I want to see him versus a better quarterback, but on the road in Cleveland, you go out there and you win 33-17. You cause multiple turnovers. You're going to be a top 10 team in my power rankings on Bleacher Report today. Make sure y'all tap into that one, Jay. And let's wrap this thing up with the Sunday night game, Jay. The Rams and the Lions. We got OT, Jay, at the end of the game. Overtime in this one. Let's talk about it. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to start? You got to start with J-Mo, right? We've got to start
we could start with J-Mo.
Williams, Jay. 9 targets, 5 receptions, 121 yards. Just long plays. Scored a touchdown. I'll just say this. I tweeted this out after the game. I don't know if you saw his post-game presser. Very happy for Jameson
I did see your tweet, yeah.
You can tell that interview and that game meant a lot to him. It felt like that interview was a big sigh of relief and a big sigh of, now y'all motherfuckers got to see how I can play. Like, I wasn't the 12th overall pick for, just for no reason.
No reason.
I wasn't an All-American at Alabama for no reason. I suffered an injury. I laid some too many bets on some parlays, but I can play, and I can be a big part of this offense to help, my Detroit Lions accomplish the goal of winning a Super Bowl. He's a different player than Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam. There's nobody on that field that can do what Jameson Williams does. 5 for 121.
That's the scary part.
He is very fast, Jay. Now, at least 4 of his tackles, I didn't think he'd get up. I'm like, there we go. He's done for. J-Mo's hurt. Just run out of bounds and don't get your legs tackled. Talk about Jameson Williams' performance in this game, though, Jay.
I mean, he was very good. And, I don't want to overreact too much, but this is not nothing. This is not something that just kind of happened in a game. This has been coming all off season. From the moment Dan Campbell got to the podium and started talking about Jameson Williams, he is much more prepared. He is ready to take a step forward in this offense, and he is going to be a factor for the Detroit Lions in 2024. And what do you know? Week 1, he absolutely explodes. Wide receiver 4 on the week for fantasy football. Massive touchdown. Led the team in yards. Led the team in targets. Scored the only receiving touchdown. I do think there is a world where you should be a little worried. If you drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first round, it's easy to look now and be like, yeah, he's not A.J. Brown. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson. And it's not that Jameson Williams will out-target him every week, but this is probably going to happen more times than you're hoping for fantasy football.
I don't know if I'm willing to go that far yet, Jay. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far yet, but I don't think he goes away. Like,
No, not goes away.
It's football schematics. He does things that nobody else does. He affects the team and threatens defenses in a way that nobody else on his team can. It's still Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I do think if J-Mo is, let's just say they're both healthy all year, he will do enough to annoy you as the Amon-Ra St. Brown manager to be like, damn, this is it. That's
he's
just
not going to have
common
1,400
sense,
yards
right?
again, right?
Yes.
Like that's more that 1,400 yard mythical ceiling. It's a lot more difficult to achieve when J-Mo's doing shit like this.
He can still do it, right? It could.
Yeah.
It is still, but having somebody like that it does limit that a little bit, and that's no slight to Amon-Ra. It's no slight to any
and
of that.
Laporta and Gibbs are still going to get their targets because they're very good.
But there is a lot going on in this offense. There's a lot going on in this offense. Jared Goff, and one of the things that if I'm Detroit, you know what I do is I continue to run the ball. David Montgomery, 17 for 91, set the tone. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 for 40. Like, they ran the ball 31 times. 31 times in this game. Now, granted, they did go to overtime, and that final drive, it was just run. But they're running the ball, committed to the run. Like, don't cover your eyes and just do this. Oh, it's just week one. J-Mo will fade to dust. He's not going to fade to dust. That's not going to happen. If he gets hurt, if he gets injured, sure, that takes anything away, right? But he's not going to just go to the bench. The coaches told us all offseason. They made it a priority to get him the ball in a big must-win. They wanted this was a playoff rematch. We need to win this game. Jameson Williams was a part of it. I'm not going to go as far as say he's the one to have over Amon-Ra, but they prioritized him in the first round for a reason, and he made good on that bet. And I, for one, am very, very happy to see that his story is not written. Like Geno Smith said, man, they tried to write me off, but I didn't write back, and I feel like Jameson Williams is doing the same thing right now. Good for J-Mo. But on the other side of the ball, Jay,
talk to me, Ray.
My God, Jay. I'm not talking about Cooper Kupp. 14 for 110.
What?
That's what Cooper Kupp does. That's what Cooper Kupp does, Jay. That's 21 targets.
What? No. 14 receptions.
No, we're not starting with Cooper Kupp, Jay.
Ridiculous.
We're starting with your boy from Michigan, who everybody said was going to render Kyren Williams dead. And there's somebody in this chat that continues to talk about Kyren Williams needs to be benched. He was awful. Well, he had 18 carries, 50 yards to Blake Corum's goose egg. Didn't even see the goddamn offensive field. Did
he play? Did he get a snap?
Just stood on the sideline in his jersey. Didn't even have to take a shower after the game. Put on the same underwear he had on when he came in because he didn't do anything. Did not get dirty, Jay. Kyren Williams is the running back you want. I don't give a shit if you think he's that bad or any of that. It was always foolish to believe that he was going to come in and just lose the job. People legitimately said he's not going to play. Blake Corum's going to take the job. Take it away. Take it away, JRich. Just give it to me.
Yeah,
Cooper
Corum,
Kupp was awesome.
Nothing to say.
Cooper Kupp was awesome.
Kupp,
Matthew Stafford was incredible.
Best quarterback of the week, by far. By far. Matthew Stafford was unbelievable in this game. He had no time. He lost his number one receiver. Now, Cooper Kupp could be his number one receiver, so not a big deal. But look at what he did.
Tyler will eventually start because he's better. Oh, yeah.
Better.
He's so much better that the coaches said we're not even going to play him. What are we talking about? And I'm Blake Corum truther. What are we doing?
You were a big Blake Corum guy.
It's not Madden, Jay. It's not Madden. Tyler Johnson, though. Where the hell did he come from? 79
what do you mean?
yards.
Well, Ray, I talked about Tyler Johnson on the show.
About no Tyler Johnson. Stop it.
Roll back the tape, and this is the reason why I don't think this is nothing. I believe it was preseason week 3. Matthew Stafford was interviewed in the middle of the game, and he mentioned 2 players. He mentioned your boy, Jordan Whittington, and he mentioned Tyler Johnson as 2 players had standed out all off season and had separated themselves. So to see Tyler Johnson get 7 targets and perform well, I'm not shocked because maybe there is that trust factor there and maybe he will be playing. If Puka misses any time, that would be the guy I'd be looking to use in fantasy or pick up because he may actually see opportunity. We know they're going to run 3 receivers out there. It doesn't mean he's going to be great all year, but I'm not shocked because we've already seen Matthew Stafford praise Tyler Johnson for his ability in the offseason.
Matthew Stafford was great.
He was so good, man.
He's very good. When you're looking at the receivers, it feels like Puka's going to miss some time. Pick up Tyler Johnson, pick up DeMarcus Robinson. Jordan Whittington scored. Jordan Whittington, too. I mean, Jordan Whittington got in the end zone.
Yeah, it was called back, unfortunately for him.
Yes. But he was utilized down there, holding call. Anything else from the Rams side of the ball? The tight end is still, even though it was Parkinson, this is what the tight ends do for the Rams. They don't do much. 4 for 47. Kyron Williams is who you. It's Kyron, it's Kupp, and it's Stafford right now until Puka Nacua gets better. And who's going to have the stones to start Tyler Johnson next week? Not
nobody.
Me. Not me.
But it was very encouraging, right, from the Rams.
The Rams O-line, 18 pressures allowed. 18.
Awful, man. So
you just got to hope and pray Matthew Stafford makes it, who took a lot of big shots. Tonight, we got the 49ers and the Jets. I'll be on Bleacher Report a little later today doing my power rankings, top 10 teams in the league, so make sure you pull up for that show. JRich, anything you want to say, people, before we get out of here, baby?
No, just tune in to Ray on BR. Get excited. I think this will be a big game. Let's just hope that Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like Kirk Cousins in his first game back from the Achilles injury, because if there's one thing I saw on Sunday and has me nervous for tonight, it's watching Kirk Cousins and thinking, damn, imagine if that guy was 5 years older. He's got way more arm talent. He's a better quarterback, but man, Kirk looks so bad. Got me a little nervous for Rodgers, a little nervous for Garrett Wilson.
Jay, what was your overarching theme of this week? Week one, and here's what I want people to do. Enjoy it, right? We spent all offseason doing these bogus mocks and talking all this theoretical shit. Like, enjoy the season. Enjoy the games. I truly just enjoy watching the football games on Sunday. But week one, what was your biggest overall takeaway on the week, Jay? And it's hard to surmise that into one isolated thought. But if you had to sum up week one, what would it be, man? I guess for me, I mean, running backs matter. Like, having those guys that are going to be able to carry the ball 20-plus times, catch a couple of passes out of the backfield. I'm just looking at every team. The Patriots, I want some Ramondre. My God, Mixon. Even Jonathan Taylor, who only had 50 yards, but 16, 17 opportunities.
There was no other opportunities for other running backs in that game.
Aaron Jones, 90 yards and a touchdown. Like, these running backs, David Montgomery, Rashad White, even though he's inefficient, like those dudes that you can reliably depend on to get the ball 15 times, because for whatever reason, receivers is hit and miss because of the QB play. James Conner, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Isaiah, every game, like, running backs, they do matter. They do matter for when they're on the field, you know?
Yeah, for me, it's that preseason matters too, right? You look at the teams that didn't play preseason, they looked pretty bad. The Rams were one of the few, and it's because they have literally one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Matthew Stafford. A lot of the other teams that didn't play their players, they looked awful. And it kind of that's where you have to look at what happened and say, okay, it was a slow start. Hopefully it can improve. And most importantly, passing yards were way down. So you can't overreact too much on the receivers, but passing yards were very, very low this week. So receiver production is going to be down. That will change a little bit. But as you said, the running backs were king. And almost every game that we went through, looking at the stats and the box scores, the team that ran the ball more effectively and more importantly, more times, won the game. Now, that's usually going to be the case. But when you look at the minor differences in football, teams that run the ball effectively, when the Lions went back to the running game in overtime, they didn't throw it once. They ran it down their throats, and the game was over. And that is kind of how you need to win in the NFL now, with a lot of too high safety looks and teams playing so heavily to stop the pass.
Yeah, Jay. Good stuff today. Good stuff today. I see Ricardo said, yo, what's the name of the show Ray does on Bleacher Report? It'll be the power ranking stream. So it'll pop up in your Bleacher Report app here in the next couple of hours, but it's a power ranking stream, top 10 teams in the NFL. Just
and then
download
you can follow us on there as well, too.
Yeah,
you can follow us on there, and when we go live, you'll see it pop up, and it's easier to find as well.
So at Ray GQ, QUE, and then at your boy JRich. If you follow us on Bleacher Report, as soon as we go live, you'll get an alert, and we do a cool show over there. Jason says Ashton Genty, Nick Singleton, and Ollie Gordon. I will be doing an updated 2025 rookie kind of big board, talking about some players who performed well. When does that drop, Jay? Am I doing that? That's for Thursday, right? Is that the Thursday content? Or is that?
I don't tell you when to work, my friend. It's the other way around.
Hit the music, man. We finna get out of here. Hit the music. Jimbo, your hat should be there today. I mailed it off last Friday, so your hat should be there today unless you don't have it, unless you already got it. Appreciate everybody being on the stream. Run it up, hit the thumbs up button, like the content. We went an hour and a half for y'all today, recapping everything from this week of fantasy football. If you catch this thing after the fact, subscribe. Who won biggest win on the weekend? I think, Jay, because I got to give away these hats, those New Era hats. Who's the biggest win on the weekend? Who had the biggest win?
Probably
the Patriots,
Dolphins.
huh? Pats?
I mean, kind of. Yeah, if we're being honest, upset of the week, those Patriots. Let's go. I didn't think we'd go to the Patriots, but what do you got for me, Ray? You gonna drop a Patriots hat? Comment in the chat.
Yeah.
Go Pats, go.
What I think it's New England forever. I think it's NE.
New England forever is the hashtag.
I think it's NE forever. So this is brand new, $34 value here, right from New Era.
with the
I'll sign it
sticker
for if
too.
you want. Snapback. So New England Patriots had the biggest win on the weekend. At the end of the year, because I can't give it away yet, sponsor purposes, but we're giving this hat away. So comment if you're a Pats fan, New England forever. You'll have a box, New England Patriots hat. We'll give it away.
Let's go. Oh, Taters! Everyone's talking about NIU too. Big win for NIU.
Who did they beat again?
Over Notre Dame. Number five
Riley
seed,
Leonard,
Notre Dame.
Man, college is a shit show. College is wild.
It's
Mitch
awful.
tapped in for that 25 show, man. We love y'all. We appreciate everybody. We have some fun. Make sure you wake up with us on Wednesday. I don't know what we're talking about, but I'm sure
Comment
we'll have more
after
drama.
the show. After the show. In the comments, people. Not in the chat.
Not in the chat. Comment. Who the hell wants this hat? All right, Jay, let's get out of here, man.
Ray, that's what I'm wondering. Who wants this hat?
Who wants this hat?
What is going on?
It's free. People love free stuff. We out of this thing. See y'all on Wednesday. Peace.